On today's show, it's Coach's Way or the Highway. From Wow Women of Wrestling, please welcome Coach Campanelli.
Hello. Before we start, I do have a coach tip. It's coach tip 3044. Always keep an ear out for new coach tips, especially when she's on the Mike Rand show.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Mike Rand Show. And today's special guest is from Wow Women of Wrestling. Please welcome Coach Campanelli. Hey Coach, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Hey, you're welcome.
We've got a big episode of Wow Women of Wrestling coming up this weekend, and you've got a big match on there. You're going to be teaming up with Randy Rah-Rah, and you're taking on G.I. Jane and the Disciplinarian with Samantha Smart in her corner. So we're going to talk about that a little later. And just to let everybody know what else is coming up this weekend on WoW, we're also going to have Chantilly Chella and Foxy Fierce. They're going to take on the Heavy Metal Sisters, Mesmeriah, Razor, and Fury. Plus, we're going to have Vivian Rivera. She's going to take on Tormenta with Sofia Lopez in her corner. And the main event, we've got the Tonga Twins, and they're going to take on Team Exile, Exodus, Genesis, and Malaya Hisaka. So that's all this weekend on Wow Women of Wrestling. So check your local listings. It's on your local CBS, CW stations, or go to WOWE.com to check it out. So now, back to Coach. So Coach, the first question I got to ask is, how did you get involved in Wow Women of Wrestling?
Well, being a coach and just a lifelong athlete, I'm always, bouncing around from one thing to the next just because I have so much natural talent. I got to spread the wealth. I also like to do everything. And I heard that WoW was having tryouts. So, of course, they needed me. So I decided to try out, and very quickly I became coach of WoW, or so I say.
Awesome. Now, did you watch WoW before you auditioned for WoW? Have you seen the show?
Yeah, I actually have. I've been to a few live events of theirs. I was very impressed with WoW before I became a WoW superhero myself.
Now, what is it like being a part of the CBS family? Because that's huge that you guys got this huge platform now.
It is really huge. Honestly, it's been awesome. I'm really proud of WoW in general, and I'm really proud that they see the potential in WoW to further women and women empowerment and women in wrestling. So it's been really cool.
Now, did you grow up watching wrestling?
Oh yeah. My dad, my brothers, my cousins, uncles, they all love wrestling, watch wrestling, got me into wrestling. So it's been I've been a fan of the sport for a long time. Yeah.
Who are some of your favorite wrestlers growing up, and who are some of the people that you're fans of now?
Well, I would say I'm the biggest fan of Coach right now. Just gotta say that. Oh my gosh, there's so many great wrestlers, and I grew up. I mean, I grew up watching wrestling, and then I know of like even the greats before I started watching who was on TV. But I just have to say, I really admire the gusto of The Rock, one of the greats. But I mean, there's so many people. It's really hard to decide, especially when you have so many options. Yeah.
Yep. And what was the training like for WoW, and who trained you?
I was actually really lucky to have a lot of different trainers. We just to get in like guest experience and all these different types of experience. Our head trainer is Selena, better known as Bambi. And our training, I mean, I always personally subscribe to the rigorous training schedule. So I go as often as I can. I think most of us train about 5 days a week for a few hours each day. And that's just in-ring training. That doesn't even include, like conditioning and outside training that we do as well. And I always do stuff on my own. It includes stretching, the mental, all this kind of stuff. So
What is your
lifelong training.
what is your favorite move to do in the ring?
Ooh, well, I think one of my favorite moves is my own personal spinning neck breaker. It's it includes, it's a power move, but it includes, spinning around and kind of discombobulating my opponent. So I find it a very useful trick in my arsenal.
Now, you've had many opponents this season, and
Mhm.
the first opponent that you had that I want to talk to you about is your first singles match when you debuted in WoW. You went up against Candy Crush. So can you tell me a little bit about working with her in that match?
That was an interesting match. That was actually both of our debut on WoW. I pride myself in being um, multifaceted, so I have, a background in pretty much everything. She has a background, or most recently in boxing, so it was interesting to see that translate in the ring for her and to, um, in my own mind, wrap around the combination of boxing and wrestling coming at me. I still have, I would say that was a lesson in not underestimating your opponent. But I would also say that I quickly recovered from that and have a few thoughts on my own about the validity of that match. But, that's just me.
And now the next match that you participated in actually was a singles match, was going to be between Randy Rah-Rah and BK Rhythm. But what happened is Jesse Jones came out to the ring and was looking for a tag team partner for the tag team tournament and decided to team up with BK Rhythm. And then to everybody's surprise, you showed up and decided to team up with Randy Rah-Rah. So can you tell me a little bit about how your friendship formed and how you decided that you wanted to work with her?
Well, from the moment I saw Randy, I knew she had talent and I knew she had potential. So I decided, if she was going to be going up against two people, that was the perfect time for me to jump in and start coaching her. So that started a beautiful union, I think, of me being her leader. And I think if she just, continues to soak up my coach tips and my expertise, that we'll go a long way as a tag team.
Now, was she willing at first to take your advice, or was she a little bit hesitant?
I think most people are a bit hesitant to take my advice at first, to be honest. But if you actually listen to my tips and you realize that I know what I'm talking about, then you might not be so reluctant.
So that was your first tag team match, and you guys won. You did a great job defeating
Thank you.
those two. And then what happened is Jesse Jones came back with another match against you two, but this time she had the disciplinarian as her tag team partner. So that was actually a round one match for the tag team tournament, and you guys beat her to everyone's surprise. So can you tell us what that match was like, and how was it like working with those two in the ring?
Well, that was an interesting match because, clearly Jesse's trying to get this tag belt situation for herself. She's jumping around from partner to partner. I like to really invest my energy into my prodigy. So it was different, trying to get a handle of a new dynamic, but I think they weren't quite on the same page, or at least not yet.
And how come you guys didn't advance in the tag team tournament? Because you guys did a great job. We want to see you in it. What happened
Thank
there?
you. Well, I think the issue there was that something got misfiled on their end or something like that. I mean, to be honest, a lot of people, like I said before, don't really take me as seriously as they should. And so if that just means I need to show them that I need to be in the tag team tournament, then so be it. Don't worry, I'll make my way there.
And then you did another great match. Unfortunately, you guys weren't able to win in that match. You teamed up with Chantilly Cella, and you guys faced the Heavy Metal Sisters. Now, what was it like going up against those three?
They are wild, I will say. A bit of a wild card. They like to have fun, which is great because wrestling is fun. But I think that they have been together so long, they're a pretty well-oiled machine. They kind of think in the same sort of hive mind. And it was just a matter of us trying to catch up to that same page that they are on together.
Yep. And then you guys then were supposed to go up against Adriana Gambino and Gigi Gianni, but unfortunately something happened. Adriana just didn't show up. And then that match, turned into a match against Exile because they showed up. So can you tell us what happened there?
Yeah, I mean, clearly Gigi Gianni put her eggs in the wrong basket. I don't know what happened there, but Exile came in and just took over that match, and I'm never one to turn down a challenge, so I was game for it. I think they need to learn to play by the rules maybe a little bit more, but they clearly knew that if I had been in the ring, they would have been out. So.
Yep. And then BK Rhythm decided to challenge you guys again. I don't know why, because she already had lost the first time, but she decided she's going to bring a new partner, Robbie Rocket. So those two decided to go up against you, and you guys redeemed yourself. The winning streak is coming back. You guys won that match. So tell me what it was like going up against those two.
They're an interesting dynamic. They're both, they align in the same sensibility. Robbie Rocket is a Spitfire. She's all over the place. And BK is pretty streamlined, knows what she's doing. But I think it was just a matter of me and Randy pulling it out together.
Yep. And then you faced probably maybe your toughest opponents yet in the Tonga Twins, because they basically, they almost had that tag team championship belt. So what was it like going up against the Tonga Twins?
Not gonna lie, it was kind of scary. But I like to have a well-rounded approach. So for me, it's not just the physical, it's also the mental. So when you're going up against a big bad opponent, maybe you gotta bring in some more of the creative ideas. So I thought maybe we would get in their head a little bit. They're identical twins. Me and Randy could pass as twins, right? I don't know if that got in their heads or not, but we did something right.
Yep. And now when you go out to these matches, what do you and Randy discuss beforehand? Do you have any pre-match rituals that you guys do, or any sort of warm-ups before the matches to get prepared?
Yes. We have a lot, so it'd probably take too long to go all the way through it. Plus, I don't want to give away all my secrets. But I put Randy through a heavy conditioning regimen, so a lot of jumping jacks for her. I'm constantly checking over her skills she already knows to make sure she's got the right technique. And all about pep talks. I know she's a cheerleader, so she's great at that. But I also have to, go over the game plan, possibilities of how to switch things up, and making sure she remembers to listen to me in the ring and everything. So just a lot of review and preparation.
Yep. And this weekend, you have a big match to prepare for, because you're going up against G.I. Jane and the Disciplinarian with Samantha Smart in her corner. Now, we know that poses an X factor outside of the ring that you guys have to be careful, because you never know what Samantha Smart's going to do. She may hit you with a ruler. God knows what she's going to do. You got to watch out for her. But, you've already defeated the Disciplinarian once before. So going in here, it's just her with a new partner. So how do you think they're going to fare? And what is your game plan and strategy going into this match?
So we do have a slight advantage having wrestled the disciplinarian before, and we know that Samantha Smart can be tricky, so we're always keeping a third eye out for her. I think, me and Randy, we also prepare by watching tape, trying to get a hold of our opponent's psychology before we go into the ring with them, so that's going to be huge. And I think, a drill sergeant, it's not too far from being a coach, right? But I have my own technique. So I think, I'm just going to try to relate to her in that mind space. And hopefully I can turn things around and get the upper hand that way.
Now, speaking of drill sergeants, how about maybe, you can challenge G.I. Jane to some sort of boot camp where you teach the wrestlers something. Who do you think would come out on top on that with the better tips? Obviously you, right?
Me, of course. No question.
Yep, I think that would be a lot of fun. And do you think, Randy Rah-Rah, that you've prepared her enough to become a tag team champion? What does Randy Rah-Rah have to do, you think, to solidify that with you, that you have 100% confidence in her?
I think in anything, you're constantly training, you're constantly working towards being better. So in that way, I'm constantly working towards being a better coach, and I do that by making Randy a better wrestler. I think for us, it's going to be her trusting me 100% in that coach knows best, and me knowing that I can trust her to listen to what I say and to execute properly. So that's going to be what's going to take us all the way through.
And do you think that she has the discipline to do it, that she's able to motivate herself and do that?
Absolutely. She's a cheerleader. She can motivate anybody.
Now, another thing that we notice is you never really let Randy talk on the mic. Is there any specific reason why you're the mouthpiece for the team?
Well, like I said before, it's because coach knows best. I mean, to be honest, it's just when you're the head of the team, you might as well be the one to review what just happened and to be the message of what we're for, And I just can't help myself sometimes. If you want something done right, you gotta do it yourself.
Sometimes gotta be the center of attention, right?
I mean, if I end up in the center of attention, then so be it.
Now, who would you like to wrestle in WoW that you haven't had the chance to wrestle yet? Who do you want to take on and get a win over?
That's a good question. Well, of course, I would love to wrestle the Beast. But being in tag teams and, whoever's wrestling right now, I would say, who have I not wrestled yet? A lot of people. I've not wrestled a lot of people. I think ideally I would like to make my way through the whole roster just to show that I am the best of the best.
Yep. Now, who do you think, looking at that roster, who would be your biggest threat?
I'm going through the roster in my head. Everybody poses their own individual threat in a different way, and I think that's what's great about WoW is the diversity. Somebody maybe just really positive, like Tiki. Sometimes I just can't get in her head and see like where this is coming from, I can't get in there.
Yep.
She's got strong mental fortitude.
Yep. Now, another fun thing that you got to do recently was you got to appear on Let's Make a Deal. I saw that and it was awesome, you and Foxy Fierce. So can you tell us about that experience?
Yeah, that was really awesome. It was a really fun experience. I love Wayne Brady. I've also been a fan for a while of his. So being on Let's Make a Deal was awesome, and being able to meet and talk with him and everything. I was honored that they had us on the show, but also made sense why they'd have Coach for a promo bit because, like I said, I'm the best on the mic. So if you want to know tips on how to improve that way, it makes sense why you'd have Coach be an example.
Yep. And now the biggest tip I want to know from Coach is if I was on Let's Make a Deal, should I choose door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3? What would be your advice?
Well, since it worked before, I'd say door number 3.
You know what? We're thinking the same because that was my go-to, door number 3. I think that would be the big prize that I would go after.
Great.
Now, another fun thing that you got to do a couple months ago is you attended LA Comic-Con, correct?
Yeah, that was awesome.
So tell me a little bit about that, and who'd you get to see? Because did you get to meet any of the gorgeous ladies of wrestling while you were there? Because they had a booth next to you too.
Yeah, I did see them next to us. Unfortunately, I didn't really get to meet any of them in person, which is sad for me because they are huge icons, obviously pioneers in the women's wrestling space. But it was really cool to be able to be next to them because, WoW and Glow are like sisters. And I feel like, that's just great about women's wrestling is supporting each other. But wrestling was awesome. We had a huge turnout, which was so cool. And it was really great to really amp up the crowd and be able to be in that space because after all, we are WoW superheroes.
Yep. Now, was there anything when you were meeting the fans, was there any particular thing that the fans wanted to know, considering, that you're newer in WoW? Was there any questions that they had about your character or wrestling in the ring?
I think maybe I pose a bit of an intimidating presence because I didn't get a lot of questions. I did take a lot of pictures, signed some autographs, which was cool. I think, me and Randy being there together was fun and people could see that, we obviously look like we go together because we are a tag team. And I think people are just curious about, my background is often a question I get, especially, asking if I coach outside of WoW or outside of wrestling. And yes, of course, I coach all kinds of things.
What kind of things do you coach?
Oh man, you name it, I'll be there. I could tell you how to tie your shoe properly. I could tell you anything to do better. Because, when you've got the skill and you're able to observe, it's easy to give some tips. So, or at least in my experience.
Yep. Now, what are 3 fun facts about the coach that maybe we don't know that you could share with us?
Okay. I live on coffee. I love coffee. I love the flavor of coffee. Coffee gets me going. I drink coffee multiple times a day. Love it. I would say I'm like a Jane of all trades. So if people think of me often in an athletic sense, which yes, do, but also I like all kinds of things. I have hobbies in finding out how old cameras work. I like figuring out how old cameras work and everything. Multiple hobbies. And I love to travel. So I've been to Italy, I've been to Spain. I'm going to Italy again and Slovenia later this year. So I'm really excited about that. And I hope I can travel more.
Yep. Now, I've been to Italy too, because I'm Italian. I went there when I was 4 years old. Would you believe I've never been back? Because my mom was always scared to go on a plane. So I never went back. And here's a fun fact. I've never been on a plane since, believe it or not.
Oh no, I love flying. So I'll fly anyway.
Maybe one day I'm gonna come out and see WoW. We're gonna have to make that happen because I've never been. And being from the East Coast, I gotta ask you, what is your favorite coffee flavor? Because something that's big here is pumpkin spice. Now, do you guys feel the same way over on that side about pumpkin flavors?
I mean, pumpkin spice is hugely popular. I feel like that's probably the case anywhere. I personally am really into, like, if I was gonna have like a flavored coffee, I really like a toasted hazelnut. That's what I like. But if you have pistachio anything, I'll take it.
Okay, and now it's time to play the lightning round. What we're going to do is I'm going to name two things and you tell me which one you prefer.
Okay.
Would you rather go on a roller coaster or a Ferris wheel?
Roller coaster.
Pictionary or charades?
Charades.
An outdoor barbecue or an indoor banquet?
Outdoor barbecue.
Would you rather be stuck in traffic or stuck waiting in a line?
Waiting in line.
Now, does the coach see things as the glass half empty or the glass half full?
It depends on if you just took a drink out of it or if you just filled it up.
Would you rather buy a gift for someone or just give them the cash?
Buy a gift.
For Valentine's Day, would you rather receive those little candy hearts or a box of chocolates?
The candy hearts.
Would you rather have to do an art project or a science fair project?
Art project.
Are you messy or a neat freak?
Little of both.
Would you rather hear the painful truth or a comforting lie?
Painful truth.
Would you rather hear a joke or solve a riddle?
Ooh, I like riddles.
And in the group photos, would you rather be in the middle or on the end?
In the middle.
Of course, because you know why we say that, right? So that way they can't chop us out and edit us out and crop us out for the people that they don't like. That's why we make sure we get that middle spot.
Absolutely. I was there and no one can say a thing about it.
Now, what tip does the coach want to leave us with today?
I would say it's important to get outside and get your vitamin D, vitamin C, and just soak up the sun. That's my tip for today.
Yes, that the sun is gorgeous. I can't wait till the nice weather over here. I mean, you guys got beautiful weather all year long. I don't know if I could put up with that, honestly, because I'd never want to, you'd never get anything done in the house.
Yeah, you're
right. I mean, I couldn't, as much as I love the nice weather and I want it, I can't do it all year round.
That's fair.
Unfortunately. You know,
like
now that doesn't mean I don't want 9 months of it. I'd rather have 9 months of that. But we gotta have a little, you know, where we get stuff done around the house and stuff like that.
A reason to stay inside and face the mess, right?
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
You're welcome.
Can you tell everybody what your contact info is if they want to follow you on social media?
Yeah, I'm at Coach Campanelli _wow or at Coach Campanelli.
Okay, and then you guys can follow me as well. On Instagram, I'm at official Mike Rand. On Facebook, official Mike Rand. Twitter, I'm Mike Rand com, because the website is MikeRand.com. And on YouTube, of course, the Mike Rand and at official Mike Rand. So thank you guys for joining us here today. Thank you again, Coach Campanelli. And we will talk to you all soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye.